Hi, my name is Mike, and I'm here to read a comic. And today's comic is Supergirl, issue number 8, dated November 1973. And this month, I'm going to do 3 Supergirl comics. The movie has not been released yet. That's going to happen next week. So I'm going to do 2 today. And then after I see the movie, I'll do the next issue of Supergirl. This way I can talk about what I thought about it. Oddly enough, I've actually been enjoying these Supergirl stories. So anyway, even though no one else finds... Hi, my name is Mike, and I'm here to read a comic. And today's comic is Supergirl, issue number 8, dated November 1973. And... I have not seen the Supergirl movie yet because that's coming out next week. But what I plan on doing is I'm going to recap 2 issues of Supergirl from the 1970s because I've actually been enjoying these issues. And then I'm going to do one after I see the movie. This way I can kind of talk about the movie. So looking at the cover, this is one of these transformation stories. I always kind of like those stories when a character would transform from one type of being to another. In this case, Supergirl has been transformed into Super Medusa, as in the Medusa in the Greek legend. And we see members of the Justice League are being turned into stone at this point. And the cover is making it very clear that this is against her will. She is not happy about this. So I'm going to get into the story. And the name of this story is A Head Full of Snakes. The creative team is Carrie Bates. You know what? I enjoyed parts of what he did. And the art is by Art Staff. Art Staff is I would say he's kind of a Kurt Swan type artist, maybe slightly below Kurt, but he would work on a lot of DC's female-centered characters. Like he would do a lot of the romance, or he would do a Lois Lane, or he would do Supergirl. And the reason for that was economic. He worked in the commercial art field. And to be successful in commercial art, you need to draw beautiful women. So, while work isn't as steady in the commercial art field as it is in comic books, he wanted to keep his skills up. So by working on these kind of female-centered comic books, he was able to just draw pretty women. And I'm sure that helped him with his portfolio, because apparently he was a very successful artist in the commercial field. So anyway, I'm going to take a look at the splash page. We see kind of a recap of what's going on. Supergirl is being pursued by, we'd say, 2 members of the Justice League, and another one is kind of following. We see Superman and the Green Lantern, and they're telling Supergirl that she needs to surrender to them immediately. And apparently what had happened was that she became a Medusa, and she turned Hawkman here into a stone statue. Now the thing is, as they're pursuing Supergirl, Superman is carrying around Hawkman in this state, kind of like wanting to rub it into Supergirl. Because on one hand, you know, this is something that's happening against her will, but on the other hand, Superman wants to be, you see what you did? Poor Hawkman. You see what you did to him? So this is really odd. And who knows if Hawkman is conscious during this? He may not be enjoying this journey in this stone state. What if Superman drops him? Or Supergirl accidentally breaks off some of that stone? So, yeah, this is a bad job on Superman. But this is the gist of the story, is that this is a transformation against her will, and the other members of the Justice League are coming in to kind of save her from herself and the rest of the world, since she's such a danger. So I'm going to turn the page. So the story starts at Vander U, and this is the college that that Supergirl or Linda Davins. I think her Kryptonian name is Carly. Honestly, I don't know, but she goes by Linda. So I think only Superman calls her that, and it appears that her major is drama. So Supergirl, after she had aged out of living in the orphanage, I believe she was able to get a scholarship to this college. She is living her best life. She's majoring in drama. If you recall Supergirl, those adventures in the 1960s, she always had to hide the fact that there was a Supergirl out there. Whenever she was out on adventure, she couldn't let her identity be known, and she would save the day, and she never got any credit. And those comic books spoke to a lot of young pre-women liberation movement girls. And it was something that sort of mirrored their own lives. They had to accept being a second-class citizen, pretty much. But the idea is that once they grew up, they would be able to shine and show the world who they wanted the world to see, or who they believed themselves to be. So this is what Linda's actually kind of doing. So when she's out there in the world, she wants to be on the stage. She wants that drama. She wants an audience, because she never had one when she was in the orphanage. She wants to be seen. And what's going on is that there's a play, and it's based on Medusa. So Linda is playing Medusa, and we find that her co-star Mitch, he's playing Perseus. Perseus is the son of Zeus, if I remember. So anyway, these two are facing off, and suddenly the director says, "No more. This is too dramatic for me." And apparently, actually, yeah, he is pretty happy with their performance. This was kind of a rehearsal, the night before the opening, and he likes what he sees. And he's saying, hey, you guys, you can just take off and just relax and just, enjoy the night, because I know tomorrow night you guys are going to kick it. And Linda says that wearing this headdress, the snakes, is kind of a drag on her. So anyway, Mitch and Linda are talking to each other. Mitch is very complimentary to Linda, saying, "Listen, you're a terrific actress. You're a beautiful young woman, and just seeing you as a Medusa, it's so shocking." Linda loves being seen this way. Again, she had a thing where she would kind of have a little crush on her co-stars. So the way Mitch is looking at her is the way Linda wants to be seen by guys like Mitch. So there's chemistry here. And apparently they had been rehearsing 3 weeks, but this is the first time that Mitch has shown any interest in Linda romantically. So anyway, ever being the gentleman, Mitch is walking Linda home, and they come across one of the professors at the school. And they all know each other, so they're kind of greeting each other. And Linda is particularly thankful to this professor. I'm going to turn the page. And the reason for that is that this professor, kind of like this, really an overweight Aunt May. She recently wrote a book on the Medusa legend, and it was gaining a lot of traction. And because Medusa, the character and the concept, was in the zeitgeist, the university decided to go with a play based on Medusa. So Linda's saying, listen, if it weren't for you and you generating interest in this character, the school would never consider doing this play. And the professor is very flattered. He said, listen, I plan on seeing you guys, and, you get me a front row seat. And they say it's already done. So everyone's leaving on good terms. Linda and Mitch, they're sharing a moment in front of the door here. This is Linda's dorm. So he walked her all the way, back to her place. Mitch is kind of getting closer and closer. And Linda wants this. So she's anticipating, that physical intimacy. And he's coming closer and closer. But then there's a muffled scream. Linda, with her super hearing, she hears it. She looks into the area as Mitch is getting closer. So she's kind of like turning her eye. And she's seeing that the professor that they were talking to earlier, Professor Garth, is being mugged. So Linda obviously recognizes the danger for the professor. But the thing is, she's kind of like, getting close with Mitch. So then a split second later, Mitch finds himself kissing the wall. And he doesn't understand where Linda went to. And he's kind of thinking, wow, she kind of ran off on me really quickly there. So he's thinking that maybe he kind of overstepped his bounds. You can turn the page. But that's not the case. Linda wanted to go into action as Supergirl to protect, Professor Garth. So basically, Linda is stripping at this point. She's throwing off her current clothing. We don't know whether she's in panties or not, because we got that Vince Coletta shadow inking. Then we see the wig coming off, and then suddenly Supergirl is in the picture. Then we see Professor Garth. She has been thrown to the floor. She has these 3 violent muggers, kind of these predators, looking at her, and they keep insulting her. One of the guys calls her an old hag. Then suddenly there's a kind of this quick little whirlwind that just suddenly turns up. The 3 muggers, they're blinded, but one of them makes sure to say, make sure the old bat don't get away. So they're very insistent on insulting this old woman. And then one of the muggers sees the professor on the ground, and he grabs her violently, saying she's going nowhere. I don't know what happened there a moment ago, but she's not going to be singing to the police. Then the professor, she just does this quick little judo chop that takes this one mugger out of action. The other muggers are caught by surprise. Can you turn the page? So the muggers are surprised by what happened. They did not expect this elderly woman to be so physical, and they're going to take her on with no holds barred. The professor, she swings at one guy, knocks him out. The other mugger can't believe this. He's saying not even Joe Frazier could knock Jake off his feet like that. Joe Frazier was he was still the champion. I think Joe Foreman took the title away a couple months later. So anyway, in the scene, the professor, she's again using judo to really incapacitate these muggers. These guys have no chance. And then she grabs one of the muggers by the leg, and she just completely swings him around and hits his other 2 mugger colleagues. And she's saying, listen, this is what I call a triple header. Walk, walk, walk. And then she's looking over the muggers. They're all unconscious at this point, telling her that, listen, you picked the wrong muggy this time. There were a rash of comic book guys who were getting mugged in New York in the 1970s. So I'm thinking Carrie was hearing stories in the office, because apparently Joe Orlando, he was famously mugged in the mid-70s, or this is what he said. And the experience just so bothered him that he did a run on the Spectra, in Adventure Comics that was incredibly violent. I know I'm going to look at definitely one of those issues because those comics were so disturbingly violent, and I remember as a 6-year-old reading those comics thinking there's something wrong here. And another comic creator who got mugged was Frank Miller, apparently, and it happened to him twice. And the second time it happened to him when he was living in Hell's Kitchen, New York. He freaked out, and he just had a nervous breakdown because after that first experience, he had to revisit it again, and the mugger was so freaked out by Frank Miller's freak out, he just ran off. And he was like, "Sorry, dude, there are better ways of making money." So, I'm thinking, yeah, there might have been a little real life inspiration. Can turn the page. So anyway, it turns out that there was a switch of identities. And Supergirl had taken the clothing of the professor, and the professor just kind of wrapped Supergirl's uniform on her. Presumably, this woman is naked. I am sure she is quite flabby, and this would be horrifying to look at. So apparently, these two undressed in front of each other, which... that would be very uncomfortable. But the thing is, Supergirl says she wanted to do this to teach the muggers a lesson. But presumably, these two were undressing in front of those muggers. I mean, they were unconscious, but what if one of them had their eye open or something? So this is a little bit of weirdness. But what happens is they do switch, and the muggers are tied up. And the professor, however, notices that there's something strange going on with Supergirl. Now, we can't see it at this point because her head is covered by her cape. So at this point, there is the transformation going on that we saw on the cover. Supergirl is wishing the professor well, saying, "Listen, hey, when I help a person, if I like them, or don't like them, it usually doesn't matter, but I'm really happy I helped you." So, yes, she's very appreciative. She's very much the good girl. And the professor is appreciative of Supergirl. She got to see that hot little body. Also, yeah, she was saved from a mugging, and that could be horrifying. But she notices something very suspicious with Supergirl. So the curse, which we know is going to be a curse, is occurring at this point. The professor, she looks at the muggers, and all three of them have been turned into stone. And of course, she's shocked by this. But then we cut to Supergirl. And as she's flying, presumably maybe to the Fortress of Solitude, because it looks like she's not flying home. She would have already been there. So I guess maybe she kind of wanted to unwind a little. But she's hearing a strange hissing noise as she's flying, and she doesn't understand this. I'm going to turn the page. The scan that I'm reading from, there's like no ads, unfortunately. And I don't even get the B story in the other comic, so it's a little bare. So anyway, and then Supergirl notices the snakes. So at this point, she realizes what's going on, and because of the familiarity of Medusa going around, she knows exactly that she has become a Medusa at this point. She doesn't believe it. She doesn't understand it. There's nothing to indicate to say that this event was triggered. It just happened. So of course Supergirl's going to be a little confused. She's going to be I don't believe this, and I'll force this stuff off of me. So what she does is that she heads to, I guess, Montana. She heads to one of those steaming geysers that you would see at Yellowstone. And she basically just takes this nice little sauna bath into the hot spring with the idea that the hot spring is just going to, kill or remove the snakes that are on her head. But that's not the case. So the snakes are still here. Little dangerous for Supergirl here, because the thing is, she's looking into the water of this geyser, and her reflection is right there. And I think the rules with Medusa is that Medusa herself can be affected by her own power, and that is if she's looking at a image of herself. So it's a little dangerous, but it's a nicely drawn panel. Art did a fairly good job. It's just, I would say maybe slightly just below Kurt Swan. I'm going to turn the page. So anyway, Supergirl, she's trying to figure out what's going on. So she goes back and she uses her supervision to see what's going on at the scene of the crime, because it's clearly where things went sideways. And she's seeing the action here is that the professor had contacted the police. The police arrived. They're looking at these 3 stone statues tied up. And it's like, this is craziness. And the thing is, this is so unbelievable to the police officers that they're like, it has to be Medusa. It has to be a Medusa. There's no other explanation for this. So at this point, Supergirl is aware that people know about this at this point. She realizes the danger of the snakes, and I think the legend says as long as the snakes aren't visible, people won't turn into stone. It's when the snakes are visible. So Supergirl takes her cape and she puts it over her head like a headdress. Or they use the term turban. I don't know if that's correct, because I don't think women wear turbans. But we'll say that. So she has a headdress. She looks like she's from that skit from In Living Color.
And now it's time for another episode of Hey Man, with the hardest working West Indian family, the Headleys.
Hey, no man! How many times I got to tell you not to put your uniforms on my good sofa?
So anyway, we see the news that Supergirl is a Medusa has broken. So the entire world has been alerted that Supergirl is a super Medusa, which means, if you look at her, you're going to turn into stone. And this makes her a danger to anyone she gets in contact with. So Supergirl at this point is considered a worldwide menace. And because of this, the Justice League of America is going to get involved. And the 3 members that are first going to get involved are Batman, Green Lantern, and Hawkman. And this is the end of Part 1 or Act 1. So at this point, all our introductions have been made. And here we're going to see the challenge. So this is Part 1 or Part 2. This is when Supergirl is at her lowest moment. And she just left the Fortress of Solitude. She was working on a scientific solution to her problem. And because the Fortress has, an amazing lab, Supergirl had access to basically Kryptonian technology to try to do something about this situation of hers, but she wasn't able to find one. And then she gets a telepathic message in her head, kind of gloating her, saying, listen, I knew you wouldn't be able to figure it out. I knew you wouldn't get a solution. And this is the curse of the Viper. And nothing can break this curse. So, you've been zapped with this, ultra powerful curse. Supergirl is thinking to herself that, she's being threatened. And although the message did not indicate a gender, she figures from the tone it's a female. So she's thinking to herself that another girl is jealous of her. Then we see the three members of the Justice League. They intercept Supergirl. Hawkman, who points her out, going like, "Oh, she's over there. She's over there. She's over there." Kind of like he's on the playground. Batman, whose ability to fly is 0, and he has to rely on Green Lantern supplying the power. I should have mentioned that earlier, but Batman is basically on this sled created by Green Lantern. And he has to fight someone who has the same powers as Superman. You kind of think that maybe the Green Lantern should have thought to himself, hey, I might have my hands full with this opponent. I know she's a girl, but nevertheless, this is someone who's as powerful as Superman, and I have to worry about keeping Batman in the air. I mean, what the hell can Batman do in a situation like this? So, this part was not well thought out. So anyway, the Justice Leaguers they want Supergirl to surrender. So Batman makes the appeal. Now this is probably why Batman was brought there. He's going to be the negotiator. So he's there for his brain, not his physical useness, which is 0 in this situation. Batman makes the plead, but Supergirl's like, I'll solve this on my own. I'll solve this on my own. She cares more about solving this problem than anyone. So, and she's taking that desperation as meaning, I'm the person who's going to be best motivated to solve this problem. And, I can't have you guys in my way. Going to turn the page. So, the Justice League, they go into action. Green Lantern is still holding Batman up. He can't stand up, but he's getting his bat lasso ready. Like, really, against Supergirl? I mean, come on, dude. That you're just going to be in the way. At this point, Batman's usefulness is at 0 at this point. He can only be a negative. But Supergirl, she doesn't want to be caught by these guys. And she's saying, listen, just don't interfere. Don't worry about it, guys. I have this. Hawkman comes in. He blindsides Supergirl. She feels it. I was never quite sure how strong Hawkman was. But he's strong enough where Supergirl can feel this. Supergirl's distracted, and Hawkman, he presses his advantage by trying to grab her. But what happens is that the snakes start coming out of the headdress. So at this point, the headdress is kind of falling apart, and then it completely falls apart. It exposes the snakes. Hawkman is looking at her, so he turns into stone in mid-flight. So at this point, Hawkman, he's falling like a rock, and it turns out that Batman and Green Lantern, they took a look, and now they've turned into stone. So all 3 members of the Justice League of America have been turned into stone. Supergirl flies to save them. Going to turn the page. And this is one of the features that was kept. This is behind the scenes at DC Comic World. And this is a really well-written page. It's written by Paul Levitt, who is a great comic book writer. He was a great fan of comic books before he entered the field professionally. And he wrote 2 really nice items here. The first one is the history of the Legion of the Superheroes. The first one is the Legion of Superheroes, and this is the complete origin of the team that had basically in 1958, it was intended to be just some one-shot title. So they weren't thinking the Legion would be anything when they were first introduced in Adventure Comics 247. But then what happened is that the fans really enjoyed the idea of this legion of superheroes made of kids their age in the future. So there was a letter campaign. Basically, kids would kind of write in, "Hey, I want to see the Legion of Superheroes. I want to see that super club again." And Mort Weisinger was he realized, hey, he's going to have to add these characters in their stories because our readers really like them. And so basically, that's how the Legion kicked off. Being an entity in DC Comics, they were originally intended to be that one story, but then they expanded their universe and they kept expanding it, and more fans were readers of the Legion of Superheroes. I was a huge fan of that title, and at one point, that was really the only DC title I was reading at the time, and Commandy. I was a big fan of the Legion of Superheroes. Apparently what had happened was that the Bizarros were occupying the B space in Adventure Comics. And they kind of said, nobody really cares about the adventures of Bizarro Superman. So what they did was they swapped out the Bizarro Superman and they put Legion stories, and then it kind of just took off from there, and it developed a strong fan base. And then I think there was some type of restructuring where in 1969 they kind of slowed down the amount of space the Legion was taking in the DC universe, because they basically had the run on Adventure Comics. That came to an end, and they put Supergirl there. So after they were taken out of Adventure Comics, they were put into Action Comics as a sometimes B story. So the Legion were kind of sputtering along for a while, and I think it was another group of fans who were demanding the return of the Legion. So this is a title that has a very passionate fan base. And then when Mort Weisinger retired, because I don't think he wanted to bother with these characters, the new editor of DC Comics said, "Listen, we're going to bring these guys back." And and that was Murray Bolthoff, who, yeah, he was a character. He was kind of a racist guy, and his racism kind of affected what was going on in the DC universe. And but he was the guy who brought the Legion back, and he assigned Cary Bates to write some of the stories. He assigned Dave Cockrum, more importantly, to update the Legion of Superheroes, and he introduced really those really cool costumes that fans saw in the mid-'70s. The Legion's growth was kind of driven by the fan base. And then they're talking about Superboy 200, saying that this is an issue that's going to change some of the members of the Legion. And that was when Bouncing Boy and Dual Damsel got married. They married them off because they thought those characters were kind of lame, but there were kind of people who kind of still liked them, so it was sort of their way of kind of getting them out of the comic regularly. And those characters would show up, irregularly when it was like sort of like all hands, like with the Darkseid saga. Excuse me. Okay, so the next feature is on comic fans. So this is basically Paul telling us what comic book fans were like in 1973. And he defines a comic book fan as someone who knows everything that Superman did in every issue that they appeared. And I remember at one time, I knew exactly what had happened in issues this, and that, and how this person or this character used their powers. So yeah, I was a huge comic fan under that standard, and they've also been known to spend up to $500 on a comic book. Presumably, in probably around 1973, you figure Action Comics #1 was probably worth about $500. I think by the end of the 70s, both Action Comics 1 and Fantastic Four #1, they officially hit that $1,000 mark. So I knew that was like the high point of if you're going to spend the most on a comic, it would be $1,000. And this was like around 1979. And they're talking about how they go to Comic Cons, and this is something that was kind of a new concept at this time. Some are held in New York City, some are held in Boston. The first comic book convention I went to was in 1979, and it was at the Sheraton, and it was free, and I had $3.50 with me, and I think I bought X-Men 36. I bought Detective Comics with Raja Ghul that was drawn by Neil Adams. I think it's 231, and it had all type of coffee stains on it, but it was only $1. And I bought two Superboy comics, 233 and 234, for $1.50. That was my first comic book convention. And they're saying there's a guy called Phil that you can contact in Brooklyn if you want to know where comic conventions are being held. And then there's fan magazines on comic books. These are kind of like Fantasia, and I was never really much into that. But I knew it existed. Like, the super passionate fans, and they would kind of like go through, and they would just do comic book nerd stuff. And they're just saying, and there's another one where you can subscribe and just get old golden age episodes of like Superman and Tarzan and stuff like that. Yeah, and Paul's saying that, listen, it's a lot of fun doing this, and I agree. Turn the page. So anyway, go back to the story. Supergirl, she protects all three of these members of the Justice League. She sees that they're statues. She feels bad about this. She didn't want this to happen. But she realized that she's being a real danger, because right now, three of the more powerful men on this planet are just completely incapacitated. Then Supergirl, she gets another telepathic message, and it's kind of a gloating message. She's being very insulting of Supergirl, and the message is that this is a curse. I placed a curse on you, and I'll let you know what my plans are soon enough. Supergirl realizes that there's a kind of like a separate entity that's doing this to her, and the plan is revealed that basically that if Supergirl dies in 8 hours, as her spirit is leaving her body, the spirit that caused the curse could enter. So basically, this is like body possession. So the villain who is communicating with Supergirl telepathically is the one who will inhabit Supergirl's body when she dies. So she's going to be reincarnated. She's going to have possession of this body. And then Supergirl, she's talking about how. So anyway, the voice is telling Supergirl that she'll be a super Gorgon. Supergirl, she goes through what a Gorgon is, and that basically this is a Greek myth, and there was a sea god, and he had 3 daughters, and Medusa was the worst of the 3 daughters. So the intelligence that's telepathically communicating with Supergirl says, yes, that's who I am. I'm Medusa. I'm Medusa's ghost. I'm her spirit, and my spirit will take over your body when you die. And Medusa is making this sound like, this is predetermined fate, and that this is going to happen to Supergirl, whether she likes it or not. You can turn the page. So then Supergirl, she flies off. She has a bit more information about what's going on, and but she has an idea that I need to find where she's entombed, because if she's contacting me as a ghost, I need to find her humanly remains. So that would be the source of where she is currently. Supergirl, she returns to the campus of Van Dyke, and I think the reason why is because, the transformation happened in this area. So, it makes sense for Supergirl to look here. And also she has the professor to ask for help. So, it makes sense that Supergirl is investigating at this point. However, in the men's dorm, we see Mitch. And Mitch was the guy who's trying to kiss Linda earlier. He seems possessed, so he's running through the halls of the dorm. The other kids don't understand it. He runs toward the Van Dyke Museum. The guard says, listen, you have to stop. The place is closed. Can't let you in. Mitch just karate chops the guard. And he's saying, listen, I have to get in there. End of story. I don't have an admission ticket, but this is my admission. This karate chop to the head. Gonna turn the page. So anyway, Mitch is in the museum, and he comes across a set of armor. And it turns out that it's armor that belonged to Perseus. And Mitch is thinking to himself that, listen, I'm going to have to fight Medusa, and 1,000 years ago, this is the stuff that I wore, and now I need to put this stuff on me again so I can go into battle with my full magic. So at this point, Perseus has taken possession of Mitch's body. So Mitch's body is going to be used by Perseus to get revenge on Medusa. In Professor Garth's office, Supergirl and the professor, they're talking to each other, and Supergirl needs to know more specifics about the legend of Medusa. Because she's thinking, listen, I need to find Medusa's body, or her remains, her mummified remains, because this is the source of where Medusa's ghost is. And the professor has an idea of where Medusa's remains are. And she's saying that it's near Mount Olympus. So Supergirl does have to go to the other side of the world in Europe to kind of look for these catacombs that will have Medusa's tomb in it. And Supergirl, she's wearing the headdress, so the snakes are under control. They're under wrap. And And Supergirl is saying, "Listen, I gotta go there as fast as I can." The professor is saying, "Listen, just be very careful, because the rest of the world considers you a menace. So you might not be, battling just Medusa's ghost alone." Gonna turn the page. So anyway, Supergirl, she's flying, and then she's intercepted by 3 jet planes. So these might be military planes. But the thing is, they start getting skittish about her power. So all 3 of them turn around in mid-flight. So all 3 of these pilots were like, we're not taking a chance here, because we don't want to take a look at her. So they didn't directly intercept Supergirl because they were leery of that Medusa power. And this is bothering Supergirl, because she was clearly a public asset. She was a hero, and now she's looked upon as a menace. And yeah, this kind of hurts her because she really worked on her branding, and the Supergirl brand was kind of a good girl brand. And now, with people thinking that she's a Medusa or having that type of association, yeah, it's kind of affecting her feelings. However, she's interrupted in mid-flight because Mitch, in the armor of Perseus, is ordering Supergirl down. So Perseus is ordering Supergirl down. Supergirl notices that this is Mitch's body, but this is Perseus's control at this point. I'm going to turn the page. And we're also told this is the end of part 2. So, yeah, this is the low point of where the hero is. So we're going to go to part 3, act 3. This is the hero. Hero overcomes everything. So Cary Bates, he structured a good story. Supergirl goes into action. Perseus, he's going on the offense first. So Perseus is about to swing for Supergirl's head. Supergirl notices that this guy's not playing around, and that he was headhunting there. So Supergirl realizes that she has a fight on her hand, and the thing is that Supergirl can't really just tell Perseus that, hey, we're on the same side. This is what's happening to me. Because Perseus is way too angry at this point, so she can't reason with him. Supergirl, again, pointing out that the sword is dangerous. This is the second time where Supergirl said, you almost killed me there. And Perseus is saying, yeah, that's why I'm using these weapons, because they're lethal. And Supergirl, she's dodging this sword here. So this is really dangerous for Supergirl, because this is magic at this point. And the Kryptonians, they don't react well to magic. So Supergirl realizes that she could literally lose her head in this fight. Supergirl kicks the sword out of Perseus's hands. And Supergirl uses this as an opportunity to say, listen, I'm not that Medusa. I've become a Medusa, but I'm not the Medusa, or the Medusa you're looking for. Going to turn the page. So then Perseus, he grabs Supergirl's headdress. So he's intentionally trying to take off the headdress. I think Supergirl is kind of caught by surprise by this, because the thing is that he risked being turned into stone, if the headdress comes off. But then Supergirl realizes what he's trying to do. And what he's trying to do is to take off the headdress while Supergirl is looking into his shield and seeing the reflection. And again, Medusa can be affected by her own power. And this is what he was planning on doing. Supergirl thinks this is kind of a smart idea. Hey, I'll tip my headdress to you, but nevertheless, she can't humor this, so she breaks the shield. So Supergirl, she delivers a left that's so powerful that it shatters the shield, and then Supergirl is flying to catch Perseus. And Perseus is giving up, saying, listen, I give up. Don't make me look at you. Please don't make me look at you. And the thing is, Supergirl does make Perseus look at her. And Perseus is like, this, don't do it. Gonna turn the page. And then Perseus, he's caught by surprise. And then we don't know what he's afraid of. And then there's a shift to Greece. So the tomb of Medusa is in Greece. So that's where Supergirl was flying to. That's Mount Olympus. And this is the Medusa ghost. She's thinking that everything is going to plan so far. So anyway, Medusa's thinking that the plan could not get any better. She placed the Medusa curse on Supergirl because she knew that when she became active as a Medusa, that would get Perseus' attention. And she could then use Perseus to kill Supergirl, and then Medusa's spirit can take over that body. Which is kind of weird because Perseus was looking to behead Supergirl. And because he thought that was the Medusa. And Medusa's going to inhabit that body that where the head is not attached. And I have no idea how the Medusa was going to navigate in that type of situation. But nevertheless, she thought, hey, it'll work out. And then we see the catacombs. These are the tombs of the ancient Greeks. And then we see the tomb of Medusa. So Medusa's remains, her mummified remains, are in this tomb right here. Then we see Supergirl bursting in the tomb itself. And then, because we see the coffin, I should say. So the intelligence is speaking from the coffin. Supergirl breaks into the tomb. The coffin, the intelligence in the coffin notices this. And the Medusa's ghost is surprised that Supergirl found out about this. So she thought that, this was secret knowledge. I'm going to turn the page. And Supergirl, she confronts the coffin, and she gives up the plan. Oh, so what Supergirl's doing is that she has Perseus in stone form, and she's telling the coffin that this war or this battle has cost this person his existence. And Supergirl is saying, listen, this has gone too far. And the coffin is letting, the ghost of Medusa is letting Supergirl know that your time is running out, and that, do you really want to spend your last moments crying? Supergirl, she gets very angry. She says, listen, I'm going to take care of you. And then as Supergirl is approaching the coffin, she's ensnared in a spider's web. So there's a netting, like a spider has created this type of spider netting, kind of like, Spider-Man's webbing at this point. And because this is magic, and these are magical forces, she finds that she can't break out of this spider web. And her super muscles just aren't helping her. And the Medusa's ghost is kind of gloating, saying that you stand no chance against my magic. Gonna turn the page. So the spiders, they start to spin a web covering Supergirl that gets thicker and thicker. So at this point, Supergirl is in a very helpless position. Then suddenly, the stone figure of Perseus, it crumbles, and then it's Perseus himself, in Mitch's flesh, who's there at this point. The Medusa's ghost is surprised by this. It turned out that Perseus wasn't turned into stone. That was just some type of kind of concealer, or to make him look like he was turned into stone. So this is like a substance that Perseus could just easily break at any moment. He chose this moment. Supergirl, she's still stuck in the spider's web, but Perseus's sword is powerful enough to cut through it. Because again, Perseus is also a creation of magic, or he's an entity of magic, so he can affect other magic things. So now Supergirl and Perseus, they're both confronting the coffin of Medusa's ghost, because now they're going to confront the actual remains. They open the coffin, and Medusa is there. Her remains are awake, so her bodily remains have returned back to life. Her snakes are intact. So what she was planning on doing was turning these two, Supergirl and Perseus, into stone. But then there's a fall, and the roof collapses, and suddenly there's this cave-in. So before Medusa's power can take effect, this cave-in stopped Medusa in her tracks. Perseus thinks this is luck, but Supergirl says, no, not quite luck. Gonna turn the page. And it turned out that Supergirl had done a super clap, and the vibrations from that super clap caused the cave-in. So it was something that Supergirl had set up to happen, and it just wasn't luck. Perseus is noticing that the snakes are starting to go away from Supergirl's head. And it was strange, because Perseus at one point was immune to this, because I'm sure at some point he probably looked at her with the snakes. But anyway, it doesn't matter. The snakes are going away. Perseus is really happy here because he defeated the Medusa, and that was his whole reason to be. And we see Supergirl. She is just looking smitten by this guy, and she's happy that she's returned to normal, and she's kind of looking at Mitch, saying, "Hey, I see possibilities here." So then the two have to go into action to make sure that Medusa and her spirit will never bother anyone again. And then it looks like they just simply kind of bury her down there, but they're looking for the snakes because the snakes are still active. But the thing is, there's a whole bunch of snakes there, kind of like a snake's pit, sort of like in Indiana Jones. And so at this point, Supergirl has given up on the idea of finding the Medusa snakes. And Perseus and Supergirl, they fly off. The Perseus is happy, and they're just kind of wrapping up what's going on. And they're kind of just, getting along really nicely. Then suddenly Perseus starts to fall. The armor starts to change, and then it's Mitch who's back. So when Perseus's spirit left Mitch's body, Mitch just reverted back to a normal person who can't fly. And that's when he started to falter. Supergirl was there to save Mitch. Kind of an asshole move by Perseus. To be honest, kind of a jerk move. But hey, he's a god. Supergirl catches Mitch. He's in this strange armor. He doesn't really know what's going on. And Supergirl says, listen, you're going to have a great story to tell when I give you the wrap-up. And that's it. And that, I think, is the end of the story. So I'm going to take a look at the letters page. She's saying that she really enjoyed Supergirl #1, both the A story and the Zatanna backup story, and that she's really looking forward to more issues like that. And the editorial writes back that, listen, we're gonna let the artist know all the nice things that you had said, about them. The second letter is from a guy, and what he's saying, I think he likes the new Supergirl title. He felt issue #4 was the best of the ones so far. And I think he's saying that basically, because Supergirl doesn't have too many stock villains, she doesn't really have a deep rogues gallery. So I think what he's saying is that any villains created at this time should be kind of reoccurring ones. And then he points to some type of error on the lettering in the story, and he likes the art. Editorial is writing back that they don't understand why people keep getting worried about stock characters, and that and basically I think if Supergirl fought too many regular villains, it would take away from other type of stories they could tell. It's kind of like, you would read Spider-Man, and then he would fight the Green Goblin, then he'd fight the Vulture, and then he would fight the Rhino, and then he would fight this villain, and it was just sort of like this continuous kind of like circle. The editorial is saying that, we like it where there's not too many stock characters. So basically, rather than having a situation with Spider-Man where he's continuously fighting one foe after another, kind of like a rotating type of way. And it looks like the creators, they don't want to go that route. They would rather have different type of stories to examine rather than, say, a villain of the week. And they're talking about the grammar error where there was Gary Bates instead of Carrie Bates, and they're mentioning that it's some type of typo. And yeah, so the next letter is about issue #4, and he really liked both the story and the artwork. And the next letter is from Helen, and she says that issue was kind of so-so, and there were too many inconsistencies. Like, for example, Supergirl can't save people's lives with her own blood because her Kryptonian blood would be too powerful for the system of any human to handle. So Helen is saying it makes no sense why Supergirl's blood could save someone else's life, because her Kryptonian cells would be just so powerful. It would just cause all type of havoc in the human body. And then she's also talking about the immune system, that the Kryptonian blood and the what is she saying? Okay, so yeah, she's pointing out the inconsistencies that that would medically happen in a type of transfusion from Supergirl's blood to a human's blood, saying that basically Supergirl's blood, her Kryptonian blood, would overwhelm the human body. And she's talking about how the blood types and would reject any type of that, alien type of it would I'm trying to think of a good way of saying it. It would I'm trying to think of a good way of saying it. It would basically the blood cells from Supergirl's Kryptonian blood would be viewed as a foreign body by the human body. And she's really going into detail. Or she's saying that having Kryptonian cells would so strain the human system that the human body couldn't take it. So she's going into really deep detail about this. Editorial is saying, if you're not a medical student, then you've missed your calling. And they're saying that she is wrong, because we have from past issues established that Superman can safely transfuse his blood with a human. And apparently Lois Lane got a blood transfusion from Superman, and it was fine. It didn't cause any problems. And because of that, it doesn't cause problems with her giving a human a blood transfusion. So that was kind of crazy. And that's it. I had a lot of fun with this issue, and that is my review of Supergirl, and I hope to have more reviews up soon. Bye.